one who feels and knows they've been wronged, but doesn't know where justice actually lives. There is a court that doesn't just enforce the law, but it answers to the king's conscience, and boy, they cannot hide. The system failed you because it was never designed to make you whole. that's that's for them. But there is another jurisdiction, older, higher, much more quiet. And it was built for matters too complex, too spiritual, too human for common law. And it still responds to petition. There comes a moment, often quiet, a lot of the times late after the fact, sometimes triggered by something small. A letter, a verdict, a judge's order, a headline, even a conversation with an attorney or a lawyer that just feels off. And then you suddenly realize, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And then you really know, man, I don't want y'all's help, nor can y'all help me. And it's not because you're wrong but it's not because you're wrong, but it is because of the language of your injury doesn't translate in their courts. You're not being cheated. You're being betrayed. You're not being overlooked. You're being dishonored. What happened to you can't be measured in policy or statutes and codes. It's too complex. It's too spiritual. it's too human. And that's when you feel it. The weight, the silence, the voice that'll say, and even if I tell the truth, they still won't hear me. And you are right. Because they don't hear you crying. They don't hear the actual injury on the inside. And not because it isn't valid, but it's because you're standing in a court that was never authorized to handle matters of the soul. So you start to question, now where the fuck do I go? Where does one go when the law is too small for the damage that was done to me? And that is when the story shifts. And because you don't know, because no one told you, but there is a court for this. One older than common law. One that doesn't operate off of code, statutes, and contracts, but off of conscience. Where the king is still the fountain of justice, and the chancellor is the keeper of the king's conscience, seated in extraordinary jurisdiction. Once again, or actually it ain't once again because I didn't tell you before. Well, actually I have on this channel, and it's called equity. And it doesn't just settle, it makes you whole. That's the whole reason you're seeking outside of yourself anyway, because you feel incomplete. You feel empty on the inside because and I know why, it's okay. But what if I told you that there is a realm of law where the evidence isn't always just in the paperwork, but the evidence lies in your intention. It lies within your conscience. It lies within good faith. A place where your word, your wound, your willingness to speak your truth actually holds weight. Not in the court you've seen around, heard about, around on TV. Not in the public jurisdiction, but the one that governs it and that is above it. Equity is the king's conscience. Equity is the king's conscience. Equity is the king's conscience made into law. It was created for people who had no remedy, for moments when the letter of the law, where the statutes and codes became too rigid to serve real justice, where the damage couldn't be quantified, only felt, where relationships failed, the systems was exploited, your honor was breached. But there's still a moral right. That's why equity was born, to answer to the cry of those that the law couldn't touch, but the truth still can. Imagine being seen, not just as a case, but as a living trust, where your petition isn't dismissed, it's heard with weight. Because first off, that's your first right, to be heard, if you didn't know your rights. Imagine standing in a jurisdiction where your conscience is king, where the oath holds actual power, where your chancellor's duty is not to interpret statutes and codes, but to enforce and invoke righteousness. This isn't fantasy. It's your actual inheritance. Mm. The court of equity doesn't belong to the elite, but it belongs to the injured party who knows their injury is too sacred. My injury is too sacred for common law. And you got to know it and speak it with standing. That's the difference. You child, you incompetent minor. You've been told that there is no remedy. That what happened to you is unfortunate and that they can't do anything about it. That the system did what it could. That it's time to move on. But if what you carry is still unresolved, then you haven't reached equity. You haven't been made whole. It's time you learn the language. It's time you learn the language. It's time you invoke the jurisdiction. It's time that you invoke the actual conscience that governs. You better like this video. It's best you subscribe. Share it with the one who's been wronged in ways paper can't prove, but heaven witnessed. Because in this court, your truth is the standing. Your truth is standing. Excuse me. We can't offer you a lawyer. I can't offer you a priest. And I definitely won't hand you a savior. Because the only one who can truly redeem this is you. You are the injured party. You are the beneficiary. You are the rightful heir. And until you desire justice, until you remember your standing, until you petition your own conscience, nothing changes. No God outside of you can deliver you from what you keep hosting inside of you. The relief you seek or think you're seeking, it won't come from a court or the pastor or any of their programs. It will come from when you enter the state of consciousness that reclaims your true jurisdiction and demands a hearing before the only court that matters, the one within. Equity only responds to those who know they belong in the chamber. It honors the voice of the one who's done being ruled by the systems, too blind to see them. Too blind to see them. So if this stirs something in you, if something in you ancient sat up and listened, like this video, subscribe, share it with the one who's been waiting on the Savior, not knowing that they already are it. You don't need saving. You need standing. And it's already yours.